The undead. Foes that stem from necromancy or other dark powers. The restless dead are not always malevolent, of course. Many simple ghosts are simply those who have unfinished business, or were not given the correct burial rites, or rituals needed to meet their gods. Necromancers care little for such things, of course, forcing not only the spirit to serve them directly, but also encasing them once more in flesh. These are the ones I hunt. Such creatures, of course, are not completely invincible. They can shake off many a mortal wound, yes. They require nothing to survive bar the will of the magic that binds them, but remove their heads and burn their bodies, and they shall fall. Eventually. It does not work for the weak-hearted. Still, there are worse creatures than zombies or ghosts. Crypt ghouls, for example. Not the work of necromancers directly, but cursed beings that serve them very easily. If they are bound, at least. Quick and deadly if you are unprepared. My advice? Don't get caught by surprise. This is Red Moon role-playing. Things have taken a turn for the worst inside this old, abandoned tower. Our heroes have been attacked by some strange, hostile creatures. The battle seemed to be going well at first, until a different sort of opponent entered, completely taking Heinrich by surprise, leaping onto him from a bookshelf and stabbing him hard with a hideously sharp bone-like knife. Still, it is your turn, Heinrich. You have been stabbed quite badly, but you're still on your feet. This thing is in front of you, screaming in your face. The other opponent, luckily for you, seems to have kind of been pushed out of the way by this thing, so you're only in direct combat with one thing. But you are in melee combat with this thing. If you want to get out of it, you'd have to disengage.
No, whatever my instinct for self-preservation is, I know that this will make much quicker work of my companions than it will of me. To the degree that Heinrich has any honor, stepping aside to put his friends in danger would certainly cross that code in the wrong way. So, trusty rapier in hand, the pistol served its purpose, but I do not have time to reload it, considering the wound this thing has already inflicted upon me. So, it will fall to the trusty rapier to keep me safe.
Wonderful. Then as you attack this being, it will defend itself. Sadly, you no longer have any advantage, but your rapier is still a sharp weapon.
And we can use fortune in combat, right?
Yes, you can.
That's good, because I rolled an 87, and that's not going to do. Oh god, an 83 the second time. No, that's missing by quite a lot. 83 above 53.
Do you got any more fortune?
Can I keep spending it?
I don't see why not. It runs out eventually, after all.
Oh, I have 4 points. I've used one, so let's make this the second one. There we go. That is 2 success levels. 40 under... 40 under 53 is 1 success level.
You begin attacking this creature, Heinrich, but it is awfully fast, far faster than you were expecting. You eventually get a stab on it, but it's hard and your side hurts a lot. Still, you do hit the creature. Please do your damage.
Well, the rapier does strength bonus plus 4, and my strength is 3, so that would be 7 total.
And your success levels?
1 so that'd be 8.
And you hit this creature in the side. It howls in pain, but it is still very limber and very active. Siegfrieda, you are right next to this conflict. You see this thing attacking Heinrich, and you notice the other thing seems to kind of be trying to eventually make its way towards you now. You're by this bookshelf. What the hell do you do?
Heinrich is in danger. I've got to rely on Kruger to attack the one that's on its feet, shambling toward us, and try and hoof this thing off of Heinrich, or where it's close to him. Not my strong suit by any means, but I am going to... Let's think. I can't throw something corrosive because it could hit Heinrich. I've got my knife and scalpel, I guess. That's all right. So dagger in hand. Get off him! I shout. And try and just shiv this wriggling, bony, undead bastard off of my friend. Gonna try and stab it clean in the head. The temple's the soft bit just behind it. Alright, we will spend another fortune. Oh, this is my last fortune. I only got 2. So fortunes for the reroll. Here we go. 88.
You lunge forward with your dagger, and you actually successfully stab this thing. And your knife just goes in, and it gets stuck. And then the being just looks at you and bats you away. It doesn't even hurt you, really. It's just its strength is enough to just sort of like batter you away from it. Right to the left area where you see this other creature beginning to approach you. And approach you it does, Siegfrieda. Now this thing is not nearly as fast, but it's still quite intimidating as it slowly tries to grasp at you. I'm assuming you're going to try and dodge.
I think you are assuming correctly. I will try scuttling back, rolling away, given that I've just been battered across the floor. Just a straight roll against my dodge skill?
Yes. Or rather, it's an opposed roll. He's attacked you, but let's see if you dodge.
I rolled a 67 against my dodge of 32, and having spent all of my fortune, I can't re-roll that.
Siegfrieda, you stumble back. You don't have time to dodge. All you could do is roll to your side and pray to Sigmar. And you're fine. The creature kind of just lumbers forward and very clumsily tries to grab you, but it's one of its arms suddenly just breaks. Like, you can feel like one of its arms kind of just, the bone inside is no longer correct, and you're fine. You've dodged. You've dodged. Even though you didn't think you have dodged this creature. Kruger, your turn.
So, in terms of who I can fire at now, who is it that's in the most amount of trouble?
You feel that the screaming giant thing that's attacking very quickly is perhaps slightly more dangerous than the shambling thing that somehow has missed Siegfrieda, even though it was right over her.
Well, that makes it easy then. I will fire upon the screaming thing.
Please roll your attack. Keeping in mind you have one advantage still.
Oh, look at that. 12 underneath. In that case, 60. So that's 5 levels.
5 levels of success. Wonderful. So add all that damage up for me.
That is 14.
You fire once again, your crossbow thudding into you. It's the first time you've really properly fired this thing. It packs quite a kick. You're going to have to remember that for the future, and the reloading could have been faster. But you fire into this thing, straight into its head, and nail it against the bookshelf. The thing sort of shivers, goes, "Ah!" And you just see Heinrich for a moment, its mouth open wide, as it was perhaps going to try and lunge on you to bite you. And then it kind of just shivers and doesn't move anymore. Heinrich, it's your turn. What do you do?
Is it a free action to sing the praises of Kruger?
Yes.
I immediately turning to Kruger, you can see that for all my confidence and bluster, Heinrich was very genuinely concerned for his life, and the relief that just washes over as this thing comes from about to bite me to pinned back against is palpable. That said, there is still danger afoot, so am I within range of attacking the lesser shambling creature?
You certainly are. You see it trying to bear down on Siegfrieda, who's fallen to the ground.
Well, let it never be said that Heinrich isn't of a mind to pay things forward. I will try to rescue Siegfrieda, as I have been rescued by Kruger. Bringing the rapier to bear. There we go. That's much better. That's an 18 under 48, so 3 success levels, plus 4 for the damage is 7, plus the strength bonus of 3 is 10.
Wonderful. You step up to this being and stab it hard in the back. Your rapier goes straight through, and the being kind of tilts its head to look at you and groans at you, trying to turn round on your rapier, which is a very strange sight. It's still moving, but, I mean, you have stabbed the thing straight through. How many more stabs can it take? It is your turn, Siegfrieda. From almost mortal peril to perhaps safety, suddenly Heinrich has stabbed this being straight through in front of you. He's definitely got its attention. You think you can maybe scramble away if you want. It's your turn. What do you do?
Well, I no longer have a weapon, aside from my scalpel, as my dagger is still stuck in this thing's head. So I think all I can really try and do is escape further harm. I haven't taken any damage, have I?
No, you're on the ground, but that's it.
Oh well, damn this. I feel like the gods are blessing me, given that this thing lurched at me and somehow broke its own arm. I'll go for my scalpel and try and cut through its throat.
Wonderful. Please roll your skill roll.
I succeed at last. I roll a 12 versus my melee basic of 29.
Wonderful. That is a hit. Please, what is your damage with a dagger?
So it's 4 damage.
4 damage plus the success levels.
So it's a 5 damage in total.
And so you step up, get back on your feet, lunge forward, and slash this being right across the throat. Now, normally, you'd expect a great deal of blood to start spilling from the throat, and death soon to follow. In this case, nothing happens at all. I mean, you've slashed this thing's throat, but nothing's coming out. What on earth is this being?
Whatever it is very fascinating. I'd love to strap it to a table.
Kruger, your turn once again. You think your friends are all attacking this final foe. What do you do? Must be on its last legs, surely. It's been stabbed, it's had its throat slit.
Indeed. Well, I will pull out my dagger and move in to try to finish it off.
Please make a weapon skill roll.
Yes, that is a success with 1 degree.
And you stab at this being, and you stab at it again, and again. And then Heinrich, I mean, 2 of your friends are now just repeatedly stabbing this creature like rapid fire. It's still standing. How do you finish this being?
I would hope that between the 2 of them, they've kept its limbs occupied, and that might give me the opening to... we've tried the heart, we've tried the head. I'm running out of organs that make sense. So maybe we can try to just cleave the skull off the shoulders. Let's see.
There's no need to roll. You remove your rapier and just cleave its head straight off. Finally, the being stops moving. And the battle seems to have come to an end. What do you do?
With adrenaline now fading, I think I fall down to the ground, because that first stab took about 60% of my hit points away. I'm just now coming to terms with how much blood I have bled.
Indeed. You thank Sigmar that at least it's a wound on the side. It hit the armor mostly, but it still really hurts. Siegfried, what do? Heinrich is bleeding quite badly from the side.
I'll say we need to get you out into the daylight, Heinrich. I can't treat that there. Can't treat that here, I should say. Especially as my scalpel has just been through the neck of something probably unwholesome.
Right, and the miasma.
I'm glad you took that in, but let's make sure you're not doing that physically. I will try and help Heinrich to the exterior.
Yes, I will do so as well, trying to, give him some support.
Then you start leaving the area, rapidly heading outside. Just before you leave, Kruger, you do notice that, again, that thing had a chain around its neck, and there was a key attached. And the other creature did so. The 3 of those things all had chains around their necks with little keys on them. What's that about? But for now, you drag your friend outside. The dwarves are waiting, and they rush forward. My goodness, what's happened? What's happened?
I recommend staying back. You never know, we might be infected with something.
All right, okay. Do you need some medical stuff? We've got some bandages.
If one of you could light a fire nearby, that would be handy.
One of them does so. You take Heinrich outside. You're all outside now. The dwarves bring forward some firewood and begin lighting a fire.
Alright, how was his wound looking?
Roll a medicine law check.
Okay. That's a 33 against 63.
It's not great. It's not terrible, though. The armour stopped a lot of the damage. Large scratch to the side. Needs to be cleaned, bandaged, and stitched right away.
Mm-hmm. Could one of you one of you builders go fetch some water from the river?
The dwarf nods and runs towards the river and comes back with a bucket.
Okay, let's put that over the fire then.
As this is happening, Angelus comes up to you, Kruger. So what happened? You were in the tower and then suddenly we heard some yelling and you've come out and he's been attacked. What happened?
Well, these things... There were things in there... I don't know if they were quite alive. They certainly attacked us, though, and we were able to take them down. But there might be more in there, so I would not recommend going inside.
Oh, one of the dwarves says immediately, I told you! Cursed elves! Cursed elf place! Oh, no, calm down, Franz. He just said things. All right, well, but in a minute we're going to get there and axes and bring our torches as well. If it's things, we need to burn them out.
I just nod.
Whoa, I say, waiting for the water to boil. There are valuable contents in that tower. We're not burning anything.
Antxon gives you a bit of a squint and remarks, what sort of valuable things?
Books mainly, but there might be more. We still don't know what caused your dwarven friends to up and disappear.
Well, alright, but hurry up then. Clearly, things inside the tower, that's not a good sign. It's a bad sign.
I'll carry on with this conversation after I've treated my patient.
Indeed. And so, there you have your dear friend Heinrich. Please roll a heal test.
Okay. Heinrich, you'll be pleased to know that luck has decided to smile upon me now that the combat is over. I roll a 4 against my heal of 58.
Wonderful. I believe that would be 5 levels of success then.
Yep.
In that case, you heal 5 wounds. As you bandage and stitch up this wound, you have all the equipment you need, and you're pretty damn sure that there is a very minimal chance of infection.
Well, I've done what I can to sterilise the scalpel. I've drifted it through the smoke from the fire, because smoke cures all impurities. Hopefully it will do the job this time.
How are you feeling, Heinrich? Your wound is bandaged. It's not quite made you right as rain, but already you feel a lot better.
And I will be eternally grateful for that, at least until the next tower full of people. It's obvious that the pain is still there. That we have not advanced society to the point of anesthesia, and I've seen how Siegfrieda does her work. So grateful as I am that the wounds are going to be healed, the pain is still something. So through gritted teeth, I will nevertheless attempt to maintain my upbeat humor. So looking down at it, trying to crane my head around to see the wound, realizing that hurts a ton, immediately stopping. My first question for Siegfrieda is there going to be a cool scar?
Well, there'll be a scar. I guess how cool it is depends on how you carry it.
I'm not carrying anything for at least the next few weeks.
Well, we will be back on our vessel sooner rather than later, I'm sure. We just need to take one last look around the inside of this tower. See if there's anything else we can find. We've still found no clue as to what made those dwarves disappear. And once again, we could already be affected, or infected, with it.
Oh, I'm injured, not impotent. I can help. And I will lumber back to my feet, despite the agony that ripples through my organ cavity.
Dwarves all seem impatient, but if you tell them to wait, they will wait. What do the three of you do? Do you return to where you just were, to actually inspect what is there?
I would like, if it's possible, to first retrieve my pistol, because I did drop it. And then second, with the training I received from my mentor, the brief discussion of more and so on, would I be able to use lore Undead to see if I can glean anything from this?
Certainly. Make a roll of lore Undead.
33 under 44 for 1 success level.
And so you make your way back in. All of you are a lot more cautious. Yet now there is far less noise in here, deadly silent. What exactly are you looking at? Are you trying to assess the shambling figures or assess the more dangerous one, currently attached to a bookcase?
I'm going to start with the big guy, my primary concern being that it is merely pinned and not dead.
You look it over, poke it a bit. Definitely seems to be dead. What could it be? It was fast. It could move. It screamed at you. This isn't some sort of undead... Well, not like the other things. You're pretty sure they're just cadavers? Reanimated cadavers? Isn't that a thing that you heard about from your new friend? This thing was stronger and faster. A crypt ghoul? Ghouls. She mentioned something about ghouls. They're not really undead, but they are undead. Kind of something to do with people who were cannibals once and a curse. That sort of thing. Maybe this was a ghoul. You feel kind of worried about what it could have done if it had bitten you, but it didn't bite you, thankfully.
But these are the things out of children's stories or campfire tales from Sylvania. What are they doing here? Is there anything... You said the ghoul was also wearing one of the pendants?
Yes, you look it over, and there is a small chain, and attached to it, easily removable, is some sort of metal key.
Well, I'll be taking that, if nothing else.
Certainly. You'll also notice the other two creatures have similar keys. That would give you 3 in total.
Well, I'm occupied with this one. I'll let my friends determine what they're getting up to with the other bodies. I will explain aloud as we're going through, just reciting the lessons from the priestess and explaining that, the cadaver and the ghoul and so on.
What do the 3 of you do then? You have some keys, you're in this room. Now you're able to fully explore the library. It continues for a little bit longer, more books, more shelves. There's another door on the very opposite end, again leading around in the circle, and then there's one more door, which you think to yourself, Kruger, logically, that must be the door you saw in the circular chamber. That must be where that leads, so this leads back to that circular room.
Indeed. Well, I'll be looking around and just trying to locate any kind of new areas that we haven't explored yet.
Well, that would be that final door. That would be the final room. It's all the way now to... In this room, it's your left, but that would originally have been the door on the right of the entrance room.
Indeed. Well, then that's where I'm headed.
So you'll poke your head in, have a look, and you'll see a room with a big desk, a big chest, a couple of boxes, and that seems to be it. There's also some charts on the wall. There seems to be some sort of study.
I'll move closer and try to see what it is that was being studied. And the desk. Desk drawers are always interesting.
This is... On the walls, you see maps. Maps of the Empire. One of them is a close-up one. It's sort of the area around Tabakland, which is where you're very near. You're kind of on the borders of the Reichland, which would then head into Tabakland. Right, you can see Camperbad just a couple of hours from here along the River Reich, and then someone circled something quite far off from Camperbad. Some are called the Barren Hills. Seems to be some sort of desolate area. They've circled something there, whatever that means.
I continue looking at it and point at it to show my companions, to see if they can make any sense of this.
You all see a map of the area and something circled somewhere. There's other circles as well around it. It's almost as if someone was trying to do a calculation of some kind, and that's where they wanted to point their calculation at, Siegfrieda. That's how it looks to you.
Based on my lore Reichland of 56, can I determine where those circles are pointed at? Exactly.
Don't need to roll for this. It's somewhere in a place called the Barren Hills, which seems to be a desolate area.
Ah, yes, but is there... Well, it is purported to be desolate, that I know. Are there any villages, castles, towers, anything like that out there?
Nope. The nearest settlement would be Camperbad, and then it may be going by scale. It's like days travel from there.
And I'm not observing anything in this room either, like some kind of device that might... I don't even really know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some kind of crystal ball or lightning rod or something that looks like the focal point of a ritual that could, for some reason, make people disappear because they're building on top of this tower. Because right now everything here looks very academic, which is fine. But that is concerning.
It is concerning. Still, you look around a little. There's a chest that's locked. Okay, and then you do see a staff. It's a wooden staff with a small crystal on the top of it. It's right underneath a portrait. The portrait is of a man with a big, bushy beard, very dark, bushy eyebrows, quite a large forehead. He's standing with a woman, and there's a young, sickly-looking boy standing with them, and they're in some sort of elaborate dining hall or something. Again, it's covered in dust.
I don't recognise any of the figures in this painting, do I?
They do not seem to be anything to you, no. Other than that they're wearing nice clothing. Nobility, perhaps?
Is the nobility, the apparel, the kind that one would find in Reichland or outside of that?
It does seem to be Reichland fashion. Old Reichland fashion.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's nothing for it. Slipping on a pair of gloves. I give the staff a kick.
And it falls to the ground.
Nothing disastrous happens?
Nope.
In that case, I pick it up.
It is a wooden staff with a crystal on the top.
I'll say to Kruger and Heinrich, if I were a betting woman, I would say that whatever is befouling this place is concentrated on this. Only because I can't see anything else here that even resembles the accoutrements of the type of person who would create some kind of ritual. Therefore, I think it's... Now that this area appears to be clear, although we should always look up, given that one of those things was above us, let's start emptying this tower of its contents. Even though I may be guessing that this quarterstaff is behind the strange events that have occurred, it could be anything in here. And the best way to make sure is to take it all out. We've got the day. I obviously suggest, Heinrich, you only take a light load.
What do you say to that, Kruger? Emptying this whole place out. Mind you, this is going to take quite some time. And you find yourself, Heinrich, thinking, you're not entirely sure Josef's going to want to hang around all day.
Well, there must be some certain things that are more valuable than others, right? Prioritize that, take a few of those items.
Oh, true. If we're going for value and not just the entirety of this tower's contents, I'm sure we can evaluate our surroundings and burn the rest. The main issue is if we burn the rest, it may destabilize the structure for the builders who want to build on top of it.
True.
A load-bearing bookcase, as it were. Siegfrieda, you didn't charge for your medical attention, right?
What, you? Oh, the dwarves, you mean? No, but like I said, I'm prepared, and dare I say it, to extend the risk of this place to not only myself but also you, and I smile. But I wouldn't want them coming in here and helping us with the moving process. It wouldn't be right to afflict them with some infection just because we're looking for valuable items to pillage.
That's fair. I was thinking more that we could sort out what is salvageable, leave it on the front stoop, as it were, and then let a few of our dwarven friends shuttle it off to the barge. I know that Josef wants to leave immediately, but he might be able to contain his patients a bit more.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Would you mind speaking to Angelus about that?
I'd be happy to. Before I depart, though, I will hand over the key in case it becomes important to Kruger and Siegfrieda.
The free keys, you mean?
Oh, I was under the impression that they had each grabbed a couple, but yes, so long as all the keys are in the same place.
Yes, you have managed to gather all the keys.
Is that chest locked? I think you said there was a chest in here.
It is indeed locked, yes.
Are there 3 locks on it?
No, just one.
Okay.
Let's try the keys.
None of them work.
Are there desk drawers that are locked?
Nope.
That painting on the wall, I'm doing the usual canvassing of a place. Is it concealing a hole, or safe, or vault?
It is not. You begin assessing the entire room and find the only thing in here locked is that chest.
Well, we'll drag the chest out.
Then you begin dragging the chest out into the central hallway and begin assessing what you're going to take out. This is going to be a lot of work. There's a library full of books, maybe 200 in total. Half of them start falling apart as you start playing with them. Then there's furniture, desks, tables, chairs, a portrait.
Oh, we don't need to do anything about the heavy wooden furniture. We're looking for items that can be sold.
In that case, just the books, maybe the glassware, although God knows who you'll sell that to, the chest, maybe that portrait if you take that off the wall.
Sure, let's do that.
Those are the main things. Everything else would be old rotting furniture.
Yeah, we can carry out 10 books at a time, stacked between our waist and our chin. I've had to carry stacks of books many times.
Then you'll begin unloading this building, and of course at this point, Angelus comes forward to you, Heinrich. Excuse me, what the hell's going on? Have you found the problem? Why are you taking stuff out?
Well, my friend is of the belief that some of these leftover artifacts may be part of the danger that you're experiencing, and that removing them from the premises would make things safer for you and your crew.
It better be, because it looks to me awfully like you're salvaging property that belongs to the Empire, just saying. Those look like books, glassware.
My good dwarf madam, we would never. I assure you it has nothing to do with anything except the safety of your work.
All right, hurry up. And can you do something about that smell as well? It's been wafting out for a while now.
I believe, you'll have to let me check in, I believe that once we've secured the dangerous materials, we'll be able to lock it back up. I know that some of your workers were interested in burning it, but I don't know that would do much for the structure, or at least that's what Siegfrieda says.
Very well then. And so, an hour passes as you unload about 80 to 90 books from a library. 20 of them begin to disintegrate very quickly, so that's about 60 books. A large portrait. A bunch of glassware and beakers, maybe about 40, 50 small glasses, various tubes, a big chest, and that's all the main things. While this was happening, Kruger, you just so happened to notice, as you were passing through that hallway, 2 things. Number 1, there's an awful smell coming from upstairs, and number 2, that black little circle in the floor. You kind of find yourself looking at it, and there's 3 keyholes.
Ah, there we go. What are they guarding, then? I will try and catch the attention of the other 2, then. This looks to be it. This looks to be where the keys go.
What is it? What have you found?
I point to the keyholes on the floor.
Hmm.
I suppose it wouldn't be too bold to reach to say they're supposed to be turned at the same time, right? That's how these mechanisms always work, overcomplicated as they are.
That's how I would figure it. How many of those undead things did we encounter? Was it 3?
3.
Yeah, 3. 1 each had a key. And looking at that painting, there was a man, a woman, and a child?
There was indeed. Although if one of those things was a child, it would be an adult at this point. And none of them seemed to be female.
Okay, well, that was just a hypothesis. Anyway, in that case, on the count of 3?
Alright, let's do it.
1, 2, 3.
You insert the keys, and a loud clicking sound begins to come over the building as something slides, and then a stairway leading down is revealed. In this central chamber.
This is where they keep the jewelry.
We might be able to buy Joseph a few more hours.
This is tempting. considering the value of some of the things up here, slight as they may have been, there are still items here worth gold. There must be something truly enticing down below us.
And if nothing else, we did promise that we would attempt to resolve the actual problem and not just loot the tower.
Yes, of course, you're right. Sorry. Eyes bigger than my stomach sometimes, as it were.
Kruger, I'm sure you'll understand if I don't volunteer to go first this time.
Oh, I'll take the lead, don't worry. And I will do just that, and begin descending down the stairs.
And you do so, finding yourselves in a new chamber. You bring light with you. Once again, the floor is plastered with a lovely star-like shape. Slightly more complicated this time. This is a 10-sided star. There is a desk in the middle, a large book on it. And all around you are alcoves. There are 6 alcoves with smaller bookshelves. These ones are full with books. Again, there are a few gaps here and there.
I begin studying the different items in here, and I'm looking for valuables, of course.
Then you begin looking around, you pick a book off the shelf, doesn't have a title. Okay, you open it, it's full of text you can't understand, and strange symbols. And then there's a skull on that page, and then there's some sort of a body being torn apart on that page. Okay, that's not a very nice looking book.
No. Is this some kind of, I don't know, chaotic or demonic occult stuff? Is that what we're dealing with here?
Someone of your education wouldn't really know. All you know is it doesn't look good.
Not to continue to use the same skill, but would lore undead work here?
No, only because you weren't taught how to read books by that individual.
You know what? That's fair.
However, I will say that if you poked your head at a book, you'd think that there's a brain? This is a human brain, and there's pictures showing knives being applied to a human brain. That doesn't look good. And then there's weird symbols, and that's not classic. That's something else.
Also, one of the things that Siegfrieda taught me is you don't want to breathe a miasma, and you don't want to put knives in your brain. That's 2 of the lessons I've learned.
And what about you, Siegfrieda? You're looking over these books. None of them have titles. You get a familiar feeling.
Yeah. We already know, based on those that chaotic tome I was reading back in Bogenhafen, that books can have power. Could a book have power in its own right to make people disappear without someone reading the words, is what's going through my head.
There's also something else going through your head. Disappear. She didn't say they were vanishing right in front of her, she simply said they just were gone. And then there were things upstairs, and one of them was very quick. Is this more mundane than you were thinking? Although at the same time, some of these books...
Oh, it's quite... I've not ruled out the possibility that these dwarves are, as I say, they could be disapparating, disintegrating, floating off into the sky, or running off once they got too infected to stick around. The main thing holding me back from the supposition that they were becoming monstrous is that they haven't been attacking the other dwarves, so maybe they just haven't fully changed yet.
Maybe. What do? It's very quick to assume that at least these alcoves are full of books, and these ones maybe cover subject matters that aren't very pleasant.
Is there anything down here beyond the books? I know it's the first time I really asked that, given books are one of my biggest, attractions.
The one big book on the table, that desk.
Well, that looks promising. I will slowly open it.
You open it. You immediately realise about 10 or 20 of the first pages fall out and turn to dust. Oh, this has not been open for some time, and it's obviously rotted a little from the top again. Some damp's gotten in somehow.
Probably a good thing.
So that means most of the initial book is illegible. You look at the spine, though, and there are some words written there. Dagmar von Wittgenstein. It's been scrawled onto the book. You start moving through it, and you decide to go to the last pages because they seem to be the ones least damaged. And you see 2 entries. Do you read them out?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll say to Heinrich and Kruger, there's legible writing in here. Would you like me to read it out loud? It doesn't appear to be any kind of ritual, as much as a confession or diary entry. So there's one entry here. It says, "My calculations have taken some time to truly work out. The nature of that moon is erratic at best, but I am now certain. This is the location of the great treasure, I am sure of it. It isn't even that far from here. Sadly, it is still in dangerous land, so I will need to hire some fools for protection. No matter, hopefully some will perish on the journey, and those that do can't be dealt with those that do not, my apologies, can't be dealt with later. I do love a double negative. None must be able to claim the treasure but I. The casing is ready, all I need to do is claim it and return it here, and finally it shall be mine." So that's the first entry. The last one, final entry in the book. "Success! The poison worked even better than I had hoped. There was some violence when we first found the treasure, but luckily it sorted itself out. I am the only survivor of that expedition, and luckily no one else knows this, so there shall be no questions. I lost one of my keys, however, but luckily I had a spare. Besides, this tower will soon no longer be needed. I shall return to Wittgendorf as soon as possible, and later send some people to recover the few things I leave behind in this tower. I'm guessing we met them. Finally, it is mine. With this, my research shall make massive progress. I will be able to go beyond the mere tricks and spells I have already learned. I shall be able to wield true power. The name Dagmar von Wittgenstein shall be feared. Our home, laughed at for being just a miserable hamlet, shall rise in power and wealth. Perhaps we shall even rival the Emperor himself. Such heresy. Still, the road will be long. For now, I must return home at once with it and make sure it is secure and safe. Till then, I leave my things here under my dear servant's watchful eyes." So, here we have a confession by Dagmar von Wittgenstein, though again, based on everything else we found around here, this could be decades old. Have any of you heard of Dagmar von Wittgenstein before?
Shake my head.
You have not, although of course you have heard of Wittgendorf.
Without knowing how old the document is, we can at least assume that no one made it back to retrieve these possessions.
Well, indeed. This seems like the kind of thing that Herr von the Wittgenstein would have been quite keen to recover, given that it contains an entire confessional.
Indeed, and as you look at the diary a little closer, there is some faded out dating. Ah! This was written 60 years ago?
So, yes, that matches up with the history books. Or when they stop. So something befell von Wittgenstein that prevented him from returning here. Something befell the servants, either those undead we encountered were the servants who were keeping these items under their watchful eye, or they were the party that returned to recover everything. But regardless, the one thing this doesn't answer, once again, is where this undead curse emerges. I assume it's something to do with von Wittgenstein's research and their expedition, something they found as part of the treasure, which again implies it's something in this tower. Maybe the staff, it could be something else in here. But it's interesting.
Indeed, and at that you hear some commotion and some yelling from up above you. It seems the dwarves have ignored you and come in.
Oh, this will be fun. Fire is coming.
I will scramble up the stairs, hoping to meet them up there. Whatever has them irritated, I imagine the secret death laboratory will only make it worse, so let's delay that for a moment. So, hobbling as quickly as possible without ruining Siegfrieda's excellent work, I will poke through the library, try to intercept them. We talked about this, the illness, the sickness. What's going on?
Angelus gives you a hard look as some of the other dwarves are around her, Well, you've been here for fucking forever, and we need to make something, and it looks like we've... What did you see? What did you see, Franz? And Franz starts coming from upstairs and retches a little. I found them! We found them! Oh, bloody hell, what have you found? Bloody hell, you lot! You've been here like an hour or two. Did you ever think to look up?
We are searching very thoroughly each level. Of course we're going to get there, and I'll yell down to my friends. I think we've discovered how this story ends.
Oh, good. And I'll begin moving up.
And move up you do.
Before I leave this cellar, I want one last look around. Is there anything here that strikes me as immensely valuable?
Truth be told, these books probably are worth a fortune to certain people.
Not the kind of people we would want to deal with.
Precisely. In fact, you'd know that if you start talking about what's down here, those dwarves especially are going to want to call people in to burn it all.
Well, I will save them the trouble of that. For all I know, any one of these dwarves could be consumed with greed, or could be an agent of von Wittgenstein or his successor, who knows? The paranoia is creeping in again. So, being the last to leave, I will put my torch to the bookshelves down here.
Doesn't take long. This is a very dusty room. You go around every single bookshelf and start lighting them, and the flames and the wood begin to spread quite nicely.
Even if the only thing we can recover from this is those books from up there, the ones we've already transported out, that's 7 gold crowns. I know that wasn't our objective, but it's always nice to know there's money coming in.
It certainly is. Luckily, no one's going to notice this, because all the dwarves want to head upstairs, dragging you, Heinrich, and Kruger with them.
In that case, I will shout, "There's a fire! Fire!"
To be fair, you think the fire is unlikely to spread up the stone stairs, and...
The smoke might.
The smoke might, that's true. So as the room starts smoking and you hear Siegfried call this, you're torn between fire, fire, and the sight before you, Heinrich. The second floor of the tower seems to be a very large bedroom of some kind, or at least it once was. There's a bed somewhere, there's some kitchenware. It's all very dishevelled up here and ransacked. And there in the corner are 4 or 5 brutally dismembered bodies. They're quite short in stature. There's blood everywhere.
It appears that Siegfried and I probably should have changed positions, being that I can burn any book, but I don't know what to make of these bodies. My assumption would be that the disappearing was the dwarves being consumed by the crypt ghouls, and that this is the leftovers of that encounter?
It certainly looks like whatever has happened to these corpses involved being eaten, yes.
Should still secure them a proper burial, at least by dwarven terms. Is there anything else? A nightstand, another bookshelf here, a chest, a closet, anything like that?
No, nothing else in this room. You see the dwarves starting to come up and shake their heads. You see Angela's looking very somber. You look above you, a flat stone ceiling, circular, lots of stones in it. Some sort of indentation, you think. A circular indentation going through the ceiling, but it seems to be just a circular shape. Nothing else. Odd.
Like a recess that you could put something in?
No, more like just a circular shape in the stone, but then there's stone in it. It's a bit weird looking.
Don't know how tall the ceilings are here. Is there something around that I could pry at it with? A broom handle comes immediately to mind.
You can, and you poke at the shape, and it's very sturdy. Doesn't move at all.
Well, there goes my trapdoor in the ceiling theory.
Well, you say that, and you think to yourself, it does look a bit like a trapdoor, it just doesn't move when you prod it with a stick.
Well, you know who would know the most about building these kind of things. Dwarves. If Angelus is still in the room, can I point it out to her?
What the... Who cares? It looks like a bit like an indentation. Maybe something was built over or covered over. Listen, please, can you help us? We've got more important things here. These are our brothers and sisters. Shit. It must have been the things. They must have got them in somehow, and that's what's been happening.
Oh, yes, and I'm of course, reverence for your dead, but there is still danger, possibly, and I'd prefer not to add to their numbers.
Really? Where? What was downstairs? You said there's more things? We should start burning the place out.
A library. Letters are not amongst my skills. But if there is anything else here that is hidden, I mean, how much longer are you going to be working on that lantern? If there were any kind of danger...
What else could be hidden? This is the second floor. You said you've gone downstairs, and that's the ceiling.
That's why, in honest deference, ma'am, I am asking you what that could possibly be.
It looks like maybe there was a window there before, and they bricked it over. Or it's bricked over. I can see some seams, but there's no way of opening that. I can see anyway.
Okay. So then the ceiling here is the platform that they are building the lantern on above?
Yeah, that's right. Now, all right, then, we need to burn... Oh, God, I don't want to burn their corpses, but if your Dr. Fred says we have to, then I suppose we have to, but it just looks like they've been bloody eaten by that thing. Maybe it was a ghoul of some kind.
Siegfrieda does tend to lean towards burning things as a solution, but... No, these wounds, and then I will explain that the ghoul bites are not contagious. It is fatal, but they shouldn't rise again. I think that's true. If it's not true, I don't want to lie to them, but...
That seems true to you. At least that's what you were told. No, she said something along the lines of necromancers and places infused with Dar energy. Maybe this is such a place, but you don't know that.
And I don't know this about dwarves for a fact, but I assume they would not be happy just burying their friends here, right? Don't they have to go back to the stone hall?
You, unfortunately, don't know much about dwarven religion or dwarven ways of things. You do notice she seems fine burning them if it is necessary, but otherwise they'd like to take them outside.
Oh, whether or not I know it, I choose to believe that. I've never seen a dwarf graveyard in my life, right? And that means it's not real by Heinrich's account.
Exactly. At this point, Kruger, you'll notice Siegfrieda coming up from below and smoke starting to come from downstairs. Just from that little stairway.
Alright, well, I suppose it's time to go now, huh?
There was an incident with a torch.
Oh, I'm sure it was all a very unfortunate accident, but perhaps it's for the best.
Almost certainly.
Strange the number of burning buildings that happen when we're around, I will remark as I come down the stairs.
Well, there's the reason the Inquisition used purifying flame, I'm sure.
Right. Doctor, lady, we've got our people upstairs, there's not much left of them. Surely even if they came back, like if we wear gloves or something, like, they're not going to be able to move very much.
Well, if we allow this place to burn down as it currently is... Listen, I know you've wasted several days with your construction above us, but I can't guarantee that this tower is going to remain in a livable state once the fire has spread through it. I think your best bet is to let the fire spread or set it yourself. Send your friends will meet their final reward, whatever it is, no matter the state of their bodies. But I think it is for the best that they be burned, and that the door be closed. And if you then deem the foundations of this place still secure, you can continue building atop it as some monument to them. But my urging is that we start fires and we leave.
Well, obviously we're not burning the whole bloody tower down, don't be ridiculous, but if we control the fires, we...
Well, it would be difficult to burn down the stone. I don't have to be a dwarf to know that. But the interior, certainly.
Exactly. All right, then. We'll start making some controlled fires. And again, so what? So that you got all of the things?
We got all of the things I think we can.
It must have somehow they got them in. Bloody hell, a tower full of undead shit. What the fuck was this place?
I honestly, not having been up here, I didn't even notice there was a way upstairs, but the fact that they were able to get in after this place seemed securely locked is... Maybe the door had some way of admitting things that were no longer living. I don't know. I'm not some arcanist. But I suggest we take this conversation to the outside after fires are started and the corpses are put to the flame.
And so, Angelus and the dwarves begin giving the building one more check over, and setting several fires in the rooms, beginning to set fire to the library, the study, the alchemical lab. None of them, of course, pay attention to the bottom. I'm assuming just as you came up, Siegfrieda, you maybe picked up those 3 keys and closed that stairway leading down.
To contain the fire, I think that would be a sensible course of action. If there's anything I took from the cellar, aside from that, it would be those intact final pages from von Wittgenstein's diary. Everything else down there looked far too decrepit to survive transit.
Indeed. And so, the 3 of you will find yourselves outside a closed stone tower, slowly smouldering away, although, of course, you can't see any of the fire from outside. Except Kruger. For some reason, at the very top of the tower, there's a little bit of smoke. If you go to investigate, doing a bit of climbing, somehow a tiny little bit of smoke is coming from the floor of the top of the tower. How strange. Must be coming through that weird shape you saw. But again, that sort of hatch in the wall seemed completely secure. There was no way of opening it. How odd, you think to yourself.
Yes. It's odd.
Still, what do the 3 of you do as you see this tower slowly going up and the dwarves solemnly doing something? You're not sure what they're doing, but it seems solemn. They don't seem to want to be disturbed. One thing's for sure. You think you've solved the issue, or at least burnt the issue.
Well, we have 7 crowns worth of books. We have a staff with a crystal in the end. We have some pages from Dagmar von Wittgenstein's diary. And hopefully we can remember some of what we saw on that map. But that isn't necessarily where our path is taking us, unless our path takes us in that direction, naturally.
Indeed, especially, Kruger, you've learned all this information as well, after all. You'll remember, didn't it say he went to get something and then he got it? So, maybe you don't really care, where that thing was, because apparently he then had it and took it somewhere else.
I would presume that it's where he left himself, which was in Wittgendorf, if the last 60 years haven't changed things.
Well, that makes sense, although one thing's for sure. Wittgendorf isn't a great and powerful nation. It is a crumbling hovel that almost can be completely forgotten. So that seems to go against what it says in the diary.
Well, let us not put our stock in the ramblings of madmen. We have adventures aplenty carrying us now. I don't see any reason to try to divert this river's course.
Indeed, and we have come out of this richer, and we've actually helped people. So, not a bad day's work.
And so the 3 of you stand there, watching this strange little tower smoulder away, with provisions to be handed out, and an impatient-looking Joseph watching you from the boat, wondering what on earth has been taking so long.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In the second part of the series, we are tackling Book 2, Death on the Reich. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Julián, Cameron, Antxon, and Graham Barey for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, Skaven are definitely not real.